So our next speaker is Thomas Buenger, the Chief Executive Officer at First Tin. Thomas has a PhD in metallurgy and over 25 years experience in base metal and semiconductor industry, having previously been the Chief Operating Officer at Arubis AG. So Thomas will now present the case for First Tin's project in Germany and in Australia. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Freddie, and good morning to everybody here in the room, as well as to everyone following us and the event online. Yeah, talking about First Tin, we have, well, you will read that carefully for sure, no doubts about that. We have two flagship projects that we develop, both of them situated in low-risk jurisdictions in Germany as well as in Australia. Both of them are represented by low capex cases, not only due to the reason that tin mines are usually small ones, but as well due to the options that we have, either due to being close to the surface, so the ore body is outcropping at the surface for our Australian project, Taronga, as well as for our high-grade project, multi-metal project that we have in Germany. We have both projects. Meanwhile, we develop them in parallel. Why we are doing that and not deciding for one flagship project? Because we can afford to run two independent teams, one in Germany, one in Australia, to push the projects through, to push them forward. We have both projects in definitive visibility status. Meanwhile, for our Australian projects, we are close to finalize that, so we're just receiving the last dates and plan to finalize the study until Q1 coming year. While the German project is looking to schedule a little bit behind of that, there the definitive feasibility study is expected to be finalized end of Q2, Q3 2024, still keeping us in the promised and published schedule. The existing pre-visibility studies that we own for the two projects, first of all, show us that it is and prove that it is that it are low capex cases, but as well prove a robust economy, even at the $25,000 per ton of tin, which looks like and seems to be the new baseline so far, even that the fluctuations are high. And looking to Jeremy, looking as well towards the predicted and promised demand curve, upcoming demand curve, which might potentially drive the price, the tin price as well up. So we have a substantial upside potential for the two projects if the tin price will really go higher. Sooner or later that will, because looking to project pipeline for tin at all is not so much, even though I was positively surprised that I have seen a few dots in the North Americas meanwhile, because tin is critical raw material in the US since a long time, so they were really aware that this is critical, in particular for electronics as the solder. Having no tin resources so far, most probably this is as well driven by the Inflation Reduction Act, which is beneficial, at least for all of us, because that brings the awareness for tin on top, because tin indeed is a small market, so always necessary to explain, like Joe said as well, to explain to the audience, not here, but in investor pitches, definitely. First Tin benefits from a very experienced board, so we have all capabilities that are required to develop, to run, to finance projects in our board, starting with the chairman, Charlie, which is very experienced in capital markets, so the financing side, having lawyers there, which is important, not only as a public listed company, but as well a lot of tricky questions while running the permitting procedures in the countries in Australia as well as in Germany, or going even further to have experienced geologists in the board, so able as well to understand what the project teams delivering to them. Okay, I will skip the market slides because Jeremy did there a very good job. Nevertheless, we as well believe the tin story. So maybe a good discussion about why electrical vehicles did not demand so much more tin the last year or the actual year than the year before. Has that something to do with the numbers of vehicles that are stable, or have they decreased the size of the solder dot? So that's a good question, because we need to understand that, because that drives the volume. And the electrical, the move towards renewable energies as well will support us. No question about the disruptions that we have seen during the course of this year. Let's see how the VAR province really will come back into operation. And as well building onto the macro question, because seeing that the demand is rather stable, maybe we have to recognize that we are in a recession. Maybe that's a reason as well. Okay, Jeremy talked about that. Our projects are situated in Europe, in Germany as well in Australia. So very close to where the Critical Raw Materials Act in the European Union is under discussion. The European Union and the countries became aware that minerals are the backbone of every industrial development. So there is a lot of support, even though I have to admit, neither we managed it to jump on the list. What you can see there is at least the big companies with big lobby organization managed to be there. If you see their copper and aluminium, you name it, no question about that. Maybe there's a good opportunity to do it, to be successful on the last minute. Jumping into our first project, Taronga, which is looking the definitive feasibility study, the most advanced one. We did a lot of work during the course of the actual year. So we published a mineral resource estimate update, and based on the recent results from the mineral processing, we are able to decrease the cutoff grade to 0.05, while that leads then to an increase in resource by 240%. And Taronga is really a case, due to its simplicity in mineralogy as well as in the flowchart, which I will come to later, where simplicity and cheap operation beats great. So that's very important. It will become a large open pit, so cheap to operate, and the processing as well is very simple. For sure, we have heard today already that ore sorting is the methodology of choice. We tested ore sorting, but we tested as well without ore sorting. So in our case, it's not required. The first step with simple crushing and sieving, we are already able to discard more than 50% barren material and to upgrade the remaining one substantially. So we save that capex as well as that opex. If we compare the mineral estimate like by like with the previous one, so with a cut-off grade with 0.1, even then we increased the resource by roughly 40%, so a substantial increase. And the ore body is still open to the southwest, so we used the drill holes we have done so far for validation as well as to extend and to explore parts of that, but there is still open opportunity. We received water rights, so we are going to drill. So in order to tick that box as well, because water is a risk as well, to lower that. And as well, Taronga is situated in a region where there has been tin mining until the mid of the 1980s. So there is a social license to operate. People are used to mine and are keen that the mine operator returns back, because that provides as well employment. Maybe a few more words about the processing. So what you see on the right-hand side with this geolot tool, the ore body consists of host rock. In the host rock we have embedded quartz veins, and in the quartz veins we will find a cassiterite. That's the reason why with crushing we might discard the gunk, which is hornfels, and collecting only the undersize, and there we enrich the cassiterite. So that's really the reason why it is so simple to upgrade the material and to use very simple units. And you see some figures there. So after the first mechanical treatment steps, we upgraded our ore starting from an average of 0.18, so you have seen that in the mineral resource estimate, to 1.66, so which is roughly 10 times, which provides two opportunities. So crushing is a very simple technology, and we are able then to decrease substantially the back end of the facility, so where the higher costs are looming, in particular for milling it down then to low particle size. And even further downstream, we use only mechanical upgrading units like jig spirals and tables. So there is only a very small flotation circuit required in order to float off the sulfides, because that is something that the smelters doesn't like very much. The resulting concentrate is in the range of 65–66% tin, and at least contains almost no penalty covering impurities, and as well the iron content, another question for the smelters, is very low. Flowchart, for those that are familiar with that, looks not too challenging, not too sophisticated. So starting with crushing, right-hand side, upper side, and then going to milling and sieving before going to the spirals, and only at the right-hand side, lower end, then you see the table thickeners as well as the flotation circuit for the sulfides. Well, even though we are with our project in a well-developed part of Australia, so we are very close to grid where we can hook in for electricity supply, and as well there are paved roads. Knowing that electricity as well in Australia is not for free, but an expensive kind on our cost circle. So we do a study that will become part of the DFS for a renewable energy generation unit using PV, because we have enough land, and wind, assuming as well to oversize the first part, the crushing, which is the highest energy consuming unit, to run that only during daytimes, and then to back up only during the night hours with the more expensive part, be it either grid or backup power by LNG or diesel. Jumping over to Germany, maybe a few words about that. There we did a drill program until the beginning of the actual year. During that time we learned that there are by far more data in the archives available for that ore body, so existing old data, and you can imagine doing archive work is by far cheaper than drilling any hole, in particular if you talk about 800 to 900 meter deep holes. So we finalized that, roughly doubled the number of data in our database, and are now in the process to run the update of the mineral resource estimate. I expect to finalize that Q1 coming year, and then to come back to the market to report about what has happened. Meanwhile, we did some further processing steps to come really to the situation, having here a multi-metal ore body, to produce really and to validate and to prove that we can produce saleable concentrate, so not only the tin concentrate, which is for sure the largest revenue driver on our calculation sheet, but as well a high-grade zinc concentrate, because we have a zinc resource as well, so we could prove already that we can do that. Contains as well a substantial part of the indium. Further, we produce a high-grade magnetite concentrate, and a magnetite concentrate is at least the choice for all those DRI technologies, so for the conversion of the steel and iron industry from the shaft furnace technology, from blast furnace to CO2 free. So that's really beneficial, and we are talking here about substantial volumes in the range of 100,000 tons plus a year. We are in the permitting procedure in Australia, and expect to run through that quite smoothly, because Australia is used to mine permitting procedures, and to achieve permitting latest Q1 2025. In Germany, we started the permitting procedure as well with the environmental part mid last year. So we signed off, we got a sign off from the authority for the environmental part beginning of this year and are now in the process of the construction and operational permit, where we expect to receive the permit as well, same time like in Australia, roughly Q1 2025. If we put all of that together, achieving and finalizing the DFS for Australia Q1 next year, we have roughly a year time to put together a financing if the macro situation will allow for that. And for the German project, we can then start second half of coming year to put the financing together as well, hoping as well for Germany in particular that until then the European Union maybe woke up and to benefit from some support from the European Union for the financing. Yeah, ESG is important license to operate. We take that into account for the two projects in general, and a very special one is our German one, where we plan a leave no trace design. So we will not have a mine rock waste dam at the surface, neither a tailing pond. We will use room and pillar and paste backfill. First of all, to put back all the residues from the processing, but as well to extract the full ore body that's beneficial. Yeah, a few words about that. Market has been tough last year, even though we sticked to our promises, so we delivered. The market didn't digest that. Okay, they are not the only one. Even though I have to admit, due to the reason that directors are already at the third point of the investor list, so we have a lot of skin in the game, and we join our other investors with the pain that they had during the course of last year. Yeah, comparing it with our competitors, maybe on the left-hand side you see the operating units, Alpha Min as well as Metals X, the two public listed ones. That shows how much potential is there once one is in operation and profitable. Based on our visibility studies, we will achieve that, but as well with the peers that are the developers, there is substantial potential, upside potential. Yeah, would like to close my presentation. In our case, simplicity and low cost beats great for Australia. Low cost, safe jurisdiction. Thanks a lot for your attention.